Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Inspirational Interviews. I'm Hannah Levin with Heartfelt Wellbeing, and I am here with Victoria Taylor, who's always a fun interviewee. So welcome, Victoria.
Thank you.
And we're going to be talking about detoxing, but from a perspective that maybe is a little different than most of you are used to. But before we get to that, Victoria, will you introduce yourself just for folks who don't know you in this community?
Sure. My name is Victoria Taylor, and I'm a licensed acupuncturist in Christiansburg, Virginia. My husband and I live at Yellow Sulphur Springs, which is a historic resort. It's pretty dang special. And he built me a healing arts studio on the property, so I hang out in the woods almost all day long. And I also try to start my mornings with yoga with heartfelt well-being. So that helps. I don't have to leave the woods because it comes right to my
Yes.
An A+.
Yay. Wonderful.
And also,
yeah.
Hannah and I met like 10 or 12 years ago, a long time ago.
Yeah. So, I was a teacher at a school that two of Victoria's children went to. And who knew that we would reconnect when I moved to Floyd, Virginia? And she showed up in this Facebook group. And I was like, And then she reached out and she said, "You taught my children." I was like, "Oh, you're that Victoria. I love it." And I've gone to you for some acupuncture, and we've had wonderful conversations. And so I'm excited to continue today with other folks watching. So if you are watching live, we are live using StreamYard. So if you give StreamYard permission for us to see your name, then we can see your questions and who you are. And feel free to type in questions or comments along the way so you can be part of this dynamic conversation. So I would love to just start with the topic of seasonality and how we need to change and adjust and be informed in how we're living by the season. Will you talk a little bit about that?
Well, sure. So my training, of course, my professional training is in East Asian energy medicine, and East Asian energy medicine is a earth-based religion, earth-based belief system based on what happens outside. You can't separate yourself from the world. That's the basic premise of East Asian energy medicine. And our culture is pretty separated from the out of doors. We don't have, I was teaching last week, and I was telling the group, it used to be the moon was the only, who knows what phase we're in the moon we're in. And one person thought she knew, and she was almost right. I said, the moon used to be the only nightlight. Everybody knew what phase we were in the moon every day because they needed to plan their evening based on the light. So seasons are like that for humans. Most of our evolution, we can't extract ourselves from the seasons. And yet people love season festivals. Have you noticed, like, everyone loves to go and sweater weather and but they don't really. And that's good that we're actually starting to engage a little bit more than maybe when I was like 30 years ago, when everything was sort of always the same all the time and you were in kind of denial of the seasons. At least we're celebrating them socially, right? Even if we're not doing it with health. And even socially, by introducing different spices or foods, like the watermelon theme in the summer, that's important. That is actually energy medicine, by making sure that you're eating the foods and gifts of each season and the foods and gifts that best align and prepare you for the seasons. But here's something that's really interesting. I grew up I went to acupuncture college in Jacksonville, Florida. And so, of course, as a young student, I remember us asking our teacher, how will we know when the seasons change? It's always sunny in Florida. And he said, listen to your patients. And so that was fascinating because indeed people, they don't know that they're inextricably bound with the seasons, and they even sort of behave as though they're not, especially in a place like Florida, but they are. And there's energies. For example, we're moving into autumn, and autumn is the energy of contraction. right? And so by nature, we need to start contracting our life, maybe cleaning a bookcase, contracting our life and seeing what's useful and what's not useful, which is why autumn is a great time to do what you would call a cleanse or a detox, because it's a contraction of all the gifts of everything that's in the summer, right? Oh, we can do everything and anywhere. One time when I was in acupuncture school, and it was shortly after, I was a young practitioner and I was very pregnant with someone who was going to be born in the end of the summer. And I remember going by a friend's house and saying, "Hey, Brenda, you want to go on your roof tonight and drink margaritas?" I was 8 months pregnant. There was no way I was going to get on her roof. But that's that summer energy, right?
Yeah.
That's that summer energy. Like, it's expansive and you can do a lot of things. And then we have to start contracting. So the fact that the equinox is a perfect time to acknowledge and shift that the energy is shifting and you're shifting. And I just realized I need to plug in my computer.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, I want to speak to a couple of things that you just mentioned. So yes, the equinox is, I think, a week from today, right? And we're in this shift from summer to autumn to fall, and that shifting how we're living is a big part of that. And if we're not aware of that or not making any changes, then there will have repercussions, which we might not even realize that that's what they are. We'll have issues like allergies or insomnia or things that come with, I don't know if you have a more extensive, the things that I tend to see in the auto, there's issues with dryness, right? Where things start drying out. So dry
and
skin.
bowel issues.
Right.
Issues are huge.
Yeah, digestive.
And a lot of that's because people don't drink as much. It's not as hot.
Right.
It's just a simple, not even esoteric thing.
Right. Drink some water. It'll help you.
Or they drink more dehydrating beverages. That's why people don't understand that, like caffeine, so black tea and coffee are dehydrating. And so if you're, it's cold, I'm gonna have a nice cup of honey tea, and then you're dehydrating yourself during this time of contraction, so you're double dehydrating yourself. Right. Because contraction is by definition dehydrating.
Drying. Yeah. Yeah. So if we know how the seasons work and how we relate to them, then we can live with this wisdom, which is what these Eastern medicine traditions teach, which is awesome. And for those of us in the West, we can really glean a lot from them. So I had asked Victoria to talk a little bit about detoxing and that because I'm getting ready to start a detox with a bunch of you on Monday. And do you want to share what I think your response was really great.
Well, I don't remember exactly what my response was, but
what's your response now?
Well, I got a little horrified because I was like, because when I heard the word detox, what I heard was purge and clean, and it reminded me of so many of my patients who come with this inherent belief that they're evil or bad. And I think it comes from some of religious tradition, like centuries and centuries of misogynistic religious tradition. And thinking even that just because you're a woman, for example, and the menses, that being like bad and dirty, as opposed to that in and of itself is a detox and it's purifying. It's like the opposite, right? And so at first I was like horrified. I was like, I can't talk about that. I don't believe in that. But because what I don't believe is in punitive purging, like colonics or extensive fasting, or just basically anything that's not done in the spirit of embracing change and nourishing one's ability to continue, as opposed to punishing what you've done up till now. Does that make sense? Is that kind of what I said?
Yeah. And I loved that because I was like, yeah. That's what I'm all about too, and the detox that I lead is really about, those of you who are already in the detox hub, you can see that on the covers of both the detox guide and the recipe book, it's called Root Down and Rest.
Right. And
So,
then you told me reset, which is like
right.
reset. I'm all about. I can reset.
Yeah. So that's what I used to call it. But people were like, what's a reset? And, in our culture, people are much more aligned with doing something called a detox. So when we think about detoxing in a way that's nourishing and beneficial, that's not punitive or detrimental, it's really about coming into awareness of what we're taking in and how is it nourishing us. So simplifying for the fall. And I love that you started this conversation talking about the contraction, right? Of just kind of pulling in. If we've gotten really spread out and kind of boundaryless during the summer, if we pull that in and say, like, here's some clear boundaries, like I'm getting a little more sleep, I'm eating warmer cooked foods on a more regular schedule during this as we're coming into the colder time of year, that and I'm eating things that are easier to digest with maybe some warming spices that are supportive for the digestion, that those pieces aren't punitive, they're nurturing, but they end up allowing us to detox from all the heat that we've taken on during the summer.
I think a word might be like clarifying, right?
Yes.
You're clarifying. And another thing I was thinking about when you were talking is about meeting the client where they are, rather than trying to hold you to some aesthetic, like the old Hindi aesthetics, some standard. Oh, well, I'm going to live on water and 3 filberts a week.
Right.
It's like, okay, stop. What do you do every day? How much water do you drink? How much coffee do you drink? Do you need that? Maybe you only need half a cup. Let's talk about it. Like a assessment of meeting you where you are, as opposed to everything you do is wrong.
Right.
Right. I remember when I first started practicing acupuncture in the 80s, there were acupuncturists who wouldn't treat people who smoked because they said it was too bad for their energy. And then when computers started, oh my gosh, and people wouldn't treat people who use cell phones because they thought it messed with their energy so much. And I actually have the reverse experience. I find that my treatments are way more powerful now. I think everyone is sort of a little energized, a little hyper energized because of the web and computers. And so my treatments work much better, much faster, I think.
I love it.
But anyway, you can't hold people. You can make suggestions and you can present opportunities, but you can't hold people to an ideal that doesn't, unless you're in an ashram. Like you have to include the fact, like I've done some pretty rigorous cleansing. I mean, it's Yom Kippur Thursday. I will fast for Yom Kippur, but I won't drive. Like you have to meet you where you are, and you can't hold people to this, like, your life's terrible, you're bad, change everything. No. What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do? Let's see what we can do to clarify those goals. And if our clients can notice how the sugar stands in the way of their full expression or their ability to listen in school, let's use that as an example, right? That's what people want, right? And so that's meeting them where they are. What are your goals? Well, now let's look and see what's in the way, rather than you're bad.
Right. Yeah. And I like your example with cell phones and computers and things too, because what I see in my own life and also with so many of my clients is that our sense organs are so bombarded, and that we are unconscious about how much we're asking our nervous systems to compute every single day through our eyes, through our ears, through our nose, through our mouths, through our skin. What have we just kind of like acclimated to?
Sure.
in our modern culture. So sometimes, I mean, I was having a conversation the other day with a woman who's done several detoxes with me, and she said, I'm not going to make this detox about food. She signed up for this one. She said, I'm really going to make it about my senses and my space. And I
That's
was like,
beautiful.
that's fabulous. It's fabulous. It's like that next layer of like, aha, that's really what this is. And that's part of it too, of like how many different tastes are we asking our tongue to deal with and our
Mm.
digestive system to handle every day? How much are
Well, our
we
small
watching?
intestine, you know,
Right.
in Chinese medicine, the small intestine is the energy of sorting, right? And
Uh,
so, like chittery is this, in Chinese medicine, um, that's the small intestine cleanse. That's what we call it, right?
uh-huh.
Because it's a mono food and it just allows that to have a break. It's not a punishment, it's a
Right.
break.
Yeah.
And I kind of love that the way you do that in your resets, because that the mono food, it's not a punishment, it's a break.
Yeah.
It's like even the best opera, you need an intermission, right? Right? So in the life well lived, you know, your small intestine, and then when your small intestine physically gets a break and cleansed because the roughage and the jittery. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Oh, we do kitchery.
Kitchery, that's what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
meant.
yeah. Yeah.
Kitchery, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. Kitchery.
Okay. The kitchery. Yeah.
The kitchery is a small intestine, is what we would call small intestine cleanse. It's the same
Okay.
kind of composition,
Yeah.
right? Um, Overcooked lentils and rice and
Right.
nothing else, right? Okay.
Turns into mush. Yeah.
And mush, right? Anyway, then that at the energetic level cleans your brain's ability to sort,
Yeah.
because the small intestine energy is not just always going, oh my gosh, this is tang and that is beef and this is right broccoli. It's then it cleans your mind so you make better choices. I'm always telling my clients, clean body, clean mind, better choices. Um, yeah. So
Yeah. So
which I feel like I need to mention, because one of my I do an acupuncture technique called Detox, and it's really not a detox, right? You can't stick a needle in someone and like bad stuff come out of it, and that's what people in our culture hear detox, they feel like bad stuff coming out, but
yeah.
it's more about aligning your energy in a way that your body functions better. Just the same way taking a sensory break or a caffeine break or a food break allows your body to function more efficiently. And if your body functions more efficiently, your life gets better because you don't do dumb stuff, right?
Yeah.
So the Detox that I'm a national leader in teaching this technique and providing this technique. I forget that detox is in the name,
Mm.
because for me, it's about better body, better, cleaner mind, better choices. And that's how you detox your life, by making those better choices. And that's kind of what you and I were talking about, is 20 years down the road. Hannah and I were saying earlier, we forget to ask our clients if they drink diet soda, because in our worlds, there is no diet soda, because we forgot about them, because they don't exist for us. Our better choices don't include diet soda. So like that, if your energies are lined up so that the world, then you make better choices, then you only see the world as a better place to be. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I love it. And that ties into something from a conversation we had prior to, where we were talking about toxins and how it's kind of like, we want to get rid of the toxins in our bodies and in our environments. And really it's that toxins, I think what you said is toxins are actually just stuff that isn't where it belongs.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I do remember saying that. Right. Like it's stuff that's in the wrong place, not being
Right.
used the right way, because
Right.
of that belief I have that God put everything on the planet for a reason.
Right.
And so obviously there's supposed to be sugar, right? And there's supposed to be caffeine, but maybe you only want to use caffeine when you're writing a paper in the middle of the night, or whatever. It's not that caffeine is categorically evil or toxic.
Right.
But I'm not sure that's true about things like what comes out of the in the New River from the Armory. Those might
Right.
really be toxins. So I'm not so sure about that, but those, God didn't put those on the planet.
Right. Man created those.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the Ayurvedic perspective too, we talk about ama, which is what we call toxins in the body, but it also translates as undigested food stuff that like just doesn't get utilized and gets stuck somewhere in the body. And that ama can hang out in places that are weakened in the body, like the joints, or, you know, and it's
arthritis.
Right. And so it's not necessarily that like eating food is bad. It's that, right, that the digestion might be compromised, or there might be weakness set up by other lifestyle choices in your body that, you know, that can all change.
Right. And then also another thing that I know is very much a part of the Ayurvedic tradition is the food combining.
Yes.
So that you can use your food the most effectively.
Right.
And that's definitely something that's part of Chinese food cures, East Asian food cures as well. Right. And you're West Asian. Food cures, you know, because like everything was put on the planet for a reason, but you have to use it correctly.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know how to use it correctly, or just not been a part of their life.
Right.
And so we have a real opportunity to train them, you know, like eat melon first. That's easy.
Yeah.
Oh, melon, I can't eat melon. It disagrees with me. Well, you're probably not eating it right.
Yeah. 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 And the, I just lost my train of thought with
using things correctly.
Food combining. Oh, using things correctly. Yes. That was it. So yeah, I often get asked like, what is the Ayurvedic perspective on whatever, alcohol, nachos. Yeah. And I always say like, there is no Ayurvedic perspective. The questions are for who, when, and how much.
Exactly.
And everything has a time and a place.
Well, you know, and we probably should open up for questions, but I just like, one of my favorite things when I give talks, I talk about birthday cakes, because people are like, sugar's bad, but birthdays are a celebration of family and home and hearth, right? And birthday cakes are round, which is the symbol of home and hearth, and sweet is the taste of home and hearth. So like birthday cakes are like, they rock earth energy, but just eat a teeny little piece.
Right. Yeah.
And homemade. That's another thing that we have a big thing in my family tradition, is that you can eat all the junk food. It just has to be made with love. So I fried a lot of French fries and popped a lot of popcorn and made a lot of cakes, right? But the energetics of the food, because in East Asian energy medicine, anything that wasn't cooked the same day is called dead food.
Yeah.
Right. So if you eat a cookie that was made 4 months, 5 months, 8 months, a year, 3 years ago, then there's no energetic contribution. If you eat a cookie that your auntie made you that morning, then it's full of vibrancy and love and energy. And you only eat one.
Right.
Not 12.
Yeah. Yeah. I talk about that as dead, dumb, or alive food. And the alive food is prana rich, right? Whether it's rich with love or rich with the energy from growing out in the garden, or
So you do want to, I mean, if you want to use the word detox, yes, get rid of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't contribute unless you're on a backpacking trip 3 months in the high Sierra. Then yes, you see what I mean? God put it on the planet for a reason.
Right.
I mean,
so it has its purpose.
But I don't.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on like, so we're focused on nourishment and building, like if we feel like we're getting weaker and weaker, and we can eat less and less things, that's an indication that our systems are weaker. And actually what we're aiming for is to build up the system so that we're not feeling limited in what we eat, or
you can tolerate more.
Right. Yeah. You want to talk about that a little bit? Because that was something else you mentioned in the conversation.
Yeah, the cow pie theory of healing. Yeah. That in the beginning you can only tolerate a little, and then you get healthier and you can tolerate more and more and more and more. Yeah, that's it. It's just that really those, unless you want to be an aesthetic, but that just is no fun. Have you ever met an aesthetic who's any fun? I remember I used to be so, like, I raised my kids vegan back in the 90s, and I was such a pain in the butt. And I'm not a pain in the butt anymore. Bernard used to say that my picture was pasted in every restaurant. Like, watch out for this woman. And now I never complain. I never complain because I'm much healthier. And I still maintain a primarily vegan diet. And my sister, I go to her house and she always like makes a roast or something. And I go, oh, I don't prefer any. And she said, but you eat anything now. I said, yeah, anything I choose to eat. And I don't choose to eat that. Right.
Yeah.
So I have many, many fewer restrictions on myself. But because I'm much healthier, much
Right.
healthier.
But you're also clearer about what you are willing to take in. I think that that's a clarification that comes from this process of really honoring like what you are bringing into your body is a gift, and that it's building your cellular intelligence and your actual tissue. And so when we start really thinking about that, like, do I want my tissue to be built out of Cheetos, or do I want my tissue to be built?
Every time I do a clarification diet, like a mono diet, I think about that. I think, really, do I want to put saturated fats into this temple that I have just created? And you know, sometimes I do, but that's a really great insight.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful. And for folks to think about if they're craving certain things now, that might not always be the case. Like, we have a hard time imagining that if we're addicted to sugar right now, that there would possibly come a day when we're not. And that's definitely my story. Like, I used to be a total sugar addict.
Wow.
And now I'm very clear, like, I can look at something that's really sugary and I can feel in my body what it would feel like if I actually ate it. And it does not feel good. And I don't need to eat it. And so it's like that. It's like, yes, I can eat so many more things than I can. And I choose not to eat certain things that I know. It's a clarification that's like, even before it goes into the body, right? And that's a real gift.
One day last winter, my husband and I decided to have breakfast for dinner. And because we don't like to eat heavily in the morning, right? So we decided to have breakfast for dinner. We made waffles and, I don't know, grits, all this stuff. And the next morning we woke up and we both were hungover from all the carbohydrate, all the sugar. We literally had that headache, and the same way that you would feel and most people think having breakfast for dinner is a really light way to eat.
Right. Yeah, but it's a lot
so
of
we don't do that anymore.
Right. And that's the other part of it too, is we can constantly run experiments and see how we feel, you know, and if we're like, oh, that didn't make me feel so good, like, take note in Ayurveda.
You can't take note unless your small intestine is clear and healthy,
able to sort.
That's sorting energy.
I love it. Yeah. And that's in Ayurveda, Prajnaparata is not learning from past experience. So it's one of the 3 causes of disease.
Exactly.
Not learning from your past experience. So you keep doing the same dumb thing over and over and over again.
It's different results.
Right. And it's okay if we do it once or twice or 3 times until we're like, oh yeah, that doesn't work. Okay.
Or if it's a birthday party.
Right. Birthday parties. But if you're only having the little piece of cake, or you're, making it from really good ingredients, that's all good. So we don't have any questions that I can see anyway.
But they can also contact me through my website, Acupuncture with Victoria, or Hannah through her website or Facebook page.
Or you can post here if you're in the Facebook group, and both of us are here. And we can look here. And we'll post your info with this interview. I do want to end with this quote that you sent me from Susan Weed. Well, do you want to share a little bit about the Wise Woman tradition and Susan Weed?
Wise Woman herbalism is another tradition that I've studied because Chinese herbalism is way too difficult. And Wise Woman herbalism really believes that every person has access to the gifts of the natural of the planet, and that health starts at home. And one of the big, I mean, it's obviously how families have stayed healthy for a millennium. However old you think the human race is, they did that until like the last 100 years. And many women and mothers and fathers and uncles are still doing this kind of medicine all over the world. But anyway, Susan Weed is a woman who really championed this movement in the 90s and aughts, and she called it the wise woman tradition, even though she was drawing on millennia of history. And there are many herbalists, but it's very simple. That's the best part about wise woman herbalism, is it's really simple, and you can just walk outside your front door and the cures that you need live there, like jewelweed growing right next to poison ivy. Or when we moved here, we all got terrible parasites, and there are probably 400 black walnut trees on our property, which is the number one tincture for parasites. Anyway, as an example, that's kind of bleak, but anyway, so she's really into nourishing and tonifying as a way to fight health, that you don't need to take anything away. You need to just make sure you're strong and self-realized so that you can be strong and healthy. Now you can read the quote.
Okay. Yeah, and I studied with Karina Wood, who's
one of Susan's students.
Yeah, before I ever studied Ayurveda. So I have a little background in this as well. So this was a quote that Victoria sent to me earlier, and I love it. So this is from Susan Weed, and she says, "Good health may be freedom from disease, but it is also openness to change, flexibility, and compassionate embodiment, even when dancing with cancer or healing from a serious accident. Uniqueness rather than normalcy." How do you say that? Normalcy? Not a cure, but an integration, not the elimination of the bad, but a nourishing of wholeness, health, and holiness. I loved that. Yeah, so we're honoring who we are, not saying you're bad.
Right.
But we honor, yay. Wonderful. Mary Ellen wrote in and she said, "Thank you for this deeper explanation of what happens during a detox, and for mentioning Susan Weed." Yeah, Mary Ellen's been practitioner of the Wise Women Way for a long time too. So
you can tell she spelled Susan right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much, Victoria. It's always a pleasure to get to have a conversation with you and tap into your years and years of wisdom. And it's an honor to know you, and honor to get to share with this community. So
yeah, thank you. Thank you for holding up that what I have is a contribution.
Yes. I always learn something when I talk to you. So if nothing else, I'm grateful.
No. All right. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. We'll see you soon.